Have you ever noticed how much of your energy leaks into places it doesn't belong? Like water quietly escaping through tiny cracks, your energy drips away slowly into people who barely notice it, situations that never truly reward you, and expectations you never consciously chose for yourself. Let's get real for a second. We've all been there, haven't we? You say yes to that extra task at work, even though your plate is already overflowing. You answer that late-night text from someone who never responds promptly when it's your turn to ask. You show up for everyone else's emotional emergencies, always the listening ear, always the supportive shoulder, until suddenly you wake up one day feeling empty, exhausted, drained, and wondering why you feel so behind in your own life. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." Think about that. Your lifetime's greatest privilege isn't to endlessly cater to the emotional needs and whims of everyone around you. It's not to be always reachable, always agreeable, always pleasing. It's to discover yourself, to peel back layers you didn't even realize had formed around you. Layers of pleasing, performing, pretending, habits of being overly available, overly understanding, overly adaptable. Being too available has become our default setting, hasn't it? Modern culture encourages it. Always be online, always respond quickly, always show you're reliable and understanding. Be the perfect friend, perfect partner, perfect employee. And yet, what has that given you really? Maybe temporary validation, a fleeting sense of worth, but mostly it's left you feeling depleted, unfulfilled, and oddly distant from yourself. When you start to say no, when you start protecting your time, energy, and space, something remarkable begins to happen. You finally start feeling present in your own life again. The discomfort of letting people down gently fades into relief. It shifts from guilt to clarity, from hesitation to self-respect. Jung believed that true growth doesn't happen when we are endlessly available to others. It happens when we become available to ourselves. It happens when we pause, when we reflect, when we honor the internal signals that say, "I don't have energy for this right now," and we listen instead of override. Because here's the truth no one likes to admit openly. When you're too available, you're not respected. You're taken for granted. It's an uncomfortable truth, isn't it? But deep down, you've felt it. The more accessible you become, the less valuable your attention feels. The more you give without limit, the less it seems your efforts matter. The paradox is that pulling back your availability doesn't make you cold or uncaring. It makes your care more valuable. It teaches people how to treat you. It reshapes your relationships around mutual respect instead of endless sacrifice. And strangely enough, people don't abandon you when you do this. They begin to appreciate your presence more deeply because they realize your attention, your energy, your time. These are not infinite commodities. Imagine for a moment that your attention was a currency, one of the most valuable currencies in your life. Where have you been spending it? And what have you truly gotten in return? Has it brought you peace? Has it fulfilled you, energized you, strengthened your self-worth? Or has it just quietly drained you, transaction after transaction, leaving you emptier each day? When you stop being endlessly available, everything changes. Not instantly, not overnight, but profoundly. The world around you shifts subtly, then dramatically. Friends become more intentional about contacting you. Colleagues respect your boundaries. Family members adjust expectations. Most importantly, you begin reclaiming your own life. The dreams you put aside, the quiet interests you've ignored, the boundaries you've neglected because it felt easier just to say yes. This is the moment things begin to shift. This is where you reclaim your power, your energy, your focus, your purpose. Are you ready for that change? Because trust me, once you experience life from a place of clear boundaries and intentional presence, you'll wonder why you waited so long to make that shift. Let's get clear about something very important here. Choosing to be less available doesn't mean isolating yourself or shutting down completely. It's not about becoming closed off, distant, or detached. It's about becoming deliberate with your energy. It's about directing your attention intentionally rather than letting it scatter in every direction. This shift from open-ended availability to intentional presence can change your life more profoundly than almost anything else. Think for a moment about the most impactful people you know. They aren't the ones who answer every call, attend every event, or respond to every message in minutes. They're the ones who carefully choose where their energy goes. They respect themselves deeply enough to prioritize, to filter, to pause before committing. And as a result, their presence feels powerful, meaningful, valued. Carl Jung had a profound insight on this exact idea. He said, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will tell you." When you don't have clear boundaries around your availability, that's exactly what happens. You let the world tell you who you are. You let others shape your identity, your time, your sense of self-worth. Every request becomes an obligation. Every emotional need from someone else becomes a responsibility. Before you know it, your whole life is defined by what others ask of you, rather than what you genuinely want or need for yourself. Maybe you've experienced this yourself without even realizing it. You start your day determined to focus on something important, a project, a goal, a piece of work you genuinely care about. But then the messages start rolling in, and you instinctively respond. A friend needs advice again. Someone wants your input on their personal issues. A family member demands your immediate attention for something trivial. And soon enough, you look up, and hours have slipped by. Hours you plan to spend building something important to you. You're left feeling drained, behind, empty, and confused about why your own priorities always come second. But here's the uncomfortable truth we have to face together. If you're constantly available, people don't see you as generous. They see you as convenient. They don't see your attention as valuable. They see it as expected. They don't notice when you're drained, overwhelmed, or exhausted. They just assume you'll always be there because you always have been. Breaking that cycle takes courage. It's easier, of course, to stay in patterns that keep the peace. It feels simpler to say yes, even when you mean no. It seems safer to remain accessible at all times because pulling back might disappoint someone, and you hate disappointing people, right? But ask yourself this: what's the true cost of all that easy, comfortable compliance? What's the emotional price tag of being endlessly available? When you start protecting your availability, people might initially resist or push back. They might feel confused or question why you're suddenly less responsive. But over time, an extraordinary shift begins to occur. They stop taking your presence for granted. They become more thoughtful before they reach out. They begin respecting your boundaries, not because you demanded respect loudly, but because you quietly showed them what respect for your own energy actually looks like. Let's talk honestly about what happens inside you when this shift begins. At first, there might be discomfort, a kind of guilt or anxiety about not responding immediately. You'll feel a restless pull to check your phone, to reply to that message right away, to make sure everyone is still pleased with you. But gradually, something more profound emerges beneath that initial discomfort. Relief, a deep sense of inner freedom. Your mind stops racing so much. Your emotional energy returns, steady and clear. You become present in your own life again. Now, instead of waking up with a sense of dread about what others will ask of you, you wake up with a sense of calm clarity, knowing your day belongs to you, at least in part. You find space again for things that nourish you. Maybe it's reading, creating, exercising, or simply sitting quietly with your own thoughts. You rediscover your preferences, your tastes, your desires, all the subtle, important parts of you that got lost beneath the weight of endless demands. That shift from constant availability to intentional presence is transformative. It changes how you feel, how you show up, how you move through your day. It changes relationships too. Some may fade, and that's okay, because relationships built solely on your constant availability weren't genuine connections in the first place. They were simply conveniences. But genuine relationships, the ones grounded in mutual respect and emotional maturity, they deepen. They become more honest, more thoughtful, more meaningful. People begin approaching you with consideration, kindness, and care because you've taught them exactly how you wish to be treated, as someone whose presence is valuable, whose attention is meaningful, whose energy deserves respect. And as this happens, you'll realize a powerful truth. Being less available doesn't make you less compassionate. It actually makes your compassion far more genuine. Because now, when you offer your presence, your attention, your help, it's given freely, intentionally, without resentment. Your support comes from a place of genuine abundance, rather than quiet obligation. This change won't happen overnight, but each small boundary you set will gradually shift your inner world. Each moment you choose yourself, each quiet no you give, every subtle adjustment you make to protect your energy, each of these actions builds toward a powerful new way of being. Remember Jung's wisdom once more. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. You've been unconsciously available, unconsciously drained. Now you're making that conscious choice to reclaim yourself, your time, your energy, and it won't just change your life subtly, it will shift everything profoundly. Are you ready to keep moving forward with this? Because the moment you start honoring your own boundaries, your life stops running away from you and starts moving steadily in a direction chosen intentionally by you. Let's make something extremely clear. Protecting your energy and being less available doesn't happen through dramatic declarations or huge life-changing events. More often than not, it happens through small, deliberate choices that quietly reshape your everyday life. Imagine this scenario. It's Friday night. You've just finished a busy, exhausting week. You promised yourself a calm evening, maybe reading, maybe watching your favorite show, or just resting quietly. But suddenly, your phone vibrates. A friend asks you to go out. You don't want to say no and disappoint them. You pause, feeling stuck in that familiar tug of war between your comfort and someone else's expectations. Now imagine you decide differently this time. You gently reply, "Hey, thanks for inviting me, but I think I need some downtime tonight. Let's catch up soon." Initially, you might feel a pang of guilt, but something else quickly rises inside you. It's relief, clarity, peace. You've respected your energy. You've respected your boundary. The beauty of these moments isn't just in their simplicity, it's in the transformative power they hold when repeated. Small acts of self-respect compound over time. Soon, these moments aren't occasional acts of courage, they become your default way of being. People around you begin to understand something vital. Your presence, your energy, your attention, these aren't endless resources. Think about it this way. When you always give away your availability, it's like constantly leaving your door open. Anyone can enter anytime, disrupting your peace. Eventually, people take it for granted. They assume your door should always be open. But when you start to gently close that door from time to time, something remarkable happens. Your space is respected, your privacy is valued, and when you choose to open the door, people enter mindfully, appreciatively. Now let's tackle something crucial: how to deal with people who might push back when you start setting these boundaries. Let's be honest, there will be pushback. You might hear things like, "You've changed," or "You seem distant," or even, "Are we still okay?" And it might stir discomfort inside you. But here's the reality. You haven't become distant. You've simply become selective about how and when you connect. You're not less loving, you're just loving yourself too, maybe for the first time. When people react negatively to your boundaries, it's usually not because your boundaries are unreasonable. It's because they've benefited from your lack of them. This initial friction is natural. Your clarity can sometimes reflect their lack of it. Your growth can challenge their stagnation. But you're not responsible for everyone else's emotional reactions. You're responsible for your own well-being, your own peace, your own mental health. Here's something powerful Carl Jung pointed out that we often overlook. The shoe that fits one person pinches another. There is no recipe for living that suits all cases. Think deeply about that. Boundaries that protect your energy might feel uncomfortable to someone else, and that's okay. Your boundaries don't have to be universally approved to be valid. They simply need to work for you. You might wonder, won't I lose friendships by being less available? And the answer, honestly, is yes. You might. But here's the deeper truth. Friendships or connections that fade simply because you set healthy boundaries were probably never true friendships at all. Real friendships thrive in mutual respect. Real relationships flourish in clarity and honesty. The connections that truly matter become stronger, not weaker, when you become more intentional with your time and energy. Think about your life as a garden. When you prune branches and remove weeds, the garden doesn't die. It becomes healthier, brighter, more vibrant. It blossoms because you've given space and nutrients to what truly matters. Your boundaries are like pruning tools, cutting away unnecessary drains and distractions, leaving room for meaningful growth, deeper connections, genuine joy. Let's dive deeper with an example. Picture two friends, Alex and Jamie. Alex always answers every text instantly, says yes to every invite, and constantly puts other people's needs first. Jamie, however, is kind, considerate, but clear with their boundaries. Jamie sometimes replies slower, thoughtfully declines certain invites, and openly prioritizes self-care and personal time. Over time, who do you think is more valued, more respected, more genuinely appreciated by others? It's Jamie, because their intentional availability teaches people that their presence is special, their time meaningful, their energy respected. And now, here's a subtle truth that might change how you approach availability forever. People crave your presence far more deeply when it's not freely and endlessly available. Scarcity increases value, not artificially, but naturally. When you're always there, your presence loses some of its weight. But when you become thoughtfully selective, your time suddenly carries immense value. Your yes becomes a powerful, meaningful, deliberate yes. Your number is respected, understood, and even admired. Think about the happiest, healthiest people you admire. Are they endlessly available, pulled in 100 directions, emotionally drained and overstretched? Or are they calm, centered, intentional, purposeful in their interactions? Exactly. Your goal is to move from reactive availability to intentional presence. This shift will reshape not just your relationships, but your internal emotional landscape too. Anxiety drops, resentment fades, joy returns, clarity strengthens. Life starts feeling like it belongs to you again, because it finally does. And here's the secret no one tells you. People don't just accept your boundaries, they start admiring you for them. They see your clarity, your self-respect, your authenticity, and suddenly they want that for themselves too. Your boundaries inspire others. Your example quietly gives permission for everyone else to live authentically, clearly, bravely. This isn't selfish, it's necessary. It's not self-centered, it's self-respecting. You're not limiting your connection. You're deepening it, clarifying it, making it authentic and real. Your presence becomes intentional, powerful, valued, because it's finally given from a place of genuine abundance rather than quiet resentment. So, let this question sit with you deeply. Are you ready to give yourself the permission you've always freely given to others? Are you ready to finally prioritize your emotional peace, your mental clarity, your happiness, above the unconscious habit of pleasing and performing? Because the moment you say yes, everything shifts, not in dramatic scenes or loud declarations, but in small, quiet, powerful moments of clarity that reshape your life from the inside out. You begin living a life that truly feels like yours. And trust me, once you've tasted the calm that comes from intentional availability, you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Let's step into something crucial right now: the hidden psychological reasons why you might find yourself endlessly available in the first place. Because, if we're honest, this habit didn't come out of nowhere. There's usually something deeper beneath it: a quiet need to be validated, a subtle fear of rejection, or a silent anxiety about being left behind. Psychologists call this behavior fawning. It's a survival mechanism where we unconsciously become overly accommodating to avoid conflict, rejection, or abandonment. Think about that for a moment. How many times have you suppressed your true feelings, opinions, or even your basic needs just to keep things peaceful? Maybe someone made a hurtful comment and you smiled it off. Maybe your boss gave you extra work and you quietly accepted without protest, despite feeling overwhelmed. These small, seemingly harmless moments add up. Each one reinforces a hidden belief inside you that your comfort matters less than other people's approval. Carl Jung spoke about something deeply relevant here: the shadow self, the part of us that contains feelings we're uncomfortable facing. Often, your shadow contains parts of you that fear disappointing others, that fear rejection, that fear standing out too much or not fitting in enough. And when you're always available, always saying yes, always putting yourself second, what you're actually doing is unconsciously trying to manage that shadow, trying to avoid confronting those uncomfortable feelings. But here's the uncomfortable truth: those shadow feelings don't disappear just because you ignore them. They quietly grow stronger beneath the surface, subtly shaping your life in ways you don't even notice. The resentment you feel after agreeing to something you didn't want to do, the anxiety you experience when your day spirals out of your control, these emotions are messages from your shadow self, telling you clearly, this isn't okay. Let's ground this idea in a real-life example. Imagine Sarah, someone who always puts others first. She works hard, says yes to every request, is constantly accessible to friends, family, and coworkers. Sarah is known as reliable, dependable, endlessly helpful. But Sarah's life isn't peaceful or fulfilling. It's exhausting. Inside, Sarah silently resents how often her own priorities get pushed aside. But instead of voicing these feelings or setting boundaries, she keeps smiling, keeps performing, keeps accommodating. Why does Sarah keep doing this? Because deep down, she fears losing the approval and acceptance that comes from always being agreeable and available. It's painful for her to imagine someone being disappointed or upset with her. But the real tragedy is that Sarah's fear of letting others down actually means she's constantly letting herself down. Does this sound familiar to you at all? If it does, you're not alone. Millions of people live exactly this way, silently, secretly, endlessly compromising themselves to keep everyone else comfortable. But now, let's imagine a shift. Sarah finally decides to face her shadow, her fear of rejection, her discomfort with conflict, her silent anxiety about being disliked. She begins slowly, gently, respectfully, setting small boundaries. At first it's difficult, even scary, but something remarkable happens quickly. She realizes people don't abandon her. They adapt. They respect her more. They understand her better. And most importantly, she respects herself more deeply. This change begins subtly. Sarah doesn't abruptly reject everyone. She just starts listening more carefully to her internal cues. When a friend asks her to do something she's too tired for, she politely says no. When extra work piles up at her job, she communicates clearly that she's at capacity and negotiates deadlines. Sarah becomes a little less immediately reachable, but paradoxically, she becomes much more genuinely present when she does show up. Over time, Sarah notices an extraordinary transformation. Her resentment evaporates, her anxiety decreases, she feels lighter, clearer, happier. Her relationships grow deeper, more meaningful, because they're built on honesty and mutual respect, not quiet obligation and unspoken resentment. Carl Jung described individuation as the process of becoming whole, integrated, authentically ourselves. By becoming less available, Sarah isn't just setting boundaries, she's undergoing individuation. She's stepping into a version of herself that is genuine, authentic, whole. She stops pretending, performing, suppressing, and instead starts existing in full authenticity. Her shadow no longer controls her silently. It now exists openly, honestly, consciously, within her awareness. Think about your own life for a moment. What hidden fears, anxieties, or insecurities are quietly guiding your endless availability? Are you afraid someone will dislike you if you say no? Are you afraid of losing your value if you're not constantly helpful? Are you uncomfortable with conflict, even healthy conflict, that clarifies boundaries and expectations? The first step in changing this pattern is awareness. Acknowledge the quiet reasons beneath your endless availability. Face the discomfort honestly. Recognize that your true worth isn't determined by how accessible, helpful, or agreeable you are. Your true worth exists independently of what you do for others. Your worth is inherent, unconditional, constant. Let's be clear. Being helpful isn't wrong. Being accessible isn't bad. The issue arises when these behaviors become compulsive rather than intentional. When you say yes, not because you genuinely want to, but because you're unconsciously managing fears or anxieties. Healthy generosity feels good, free, empowering, not exhausting, heavy, draining. Now, imagine something even deeper. Imagine what your life might look like when you stop managing others' reactions and start prioritizing your own well-being. Imagine how your relationships could improve if they were built on honest interactions and clear expectations. Imagine how powerful and respected you'd feel if you approached life intentionally rather than reactively. This shift doesn't make you selfish, it makes you self-aware. It doesn't limit your love, it deepens it. It doesn't isolate you, it connects you authentically to others. The most meaningful relationships are always built on clear communication, mutual respect, and genuine boundaries. So ask yourself now, what small, manageable boundaries can you set today? What subtle changes can you implement to respect your own energy and peace? Can you wait an hour before replying to that message? Can you gently decline a request that doesn't align with your comfort? Can you practice saying, "Let me think about it," rather than immediately agreeing? Each small step you take toward intentional availability strengthens your emotional resilience. Each gentle boundary you set deepens your self-respect. Each moment you prioritize your own peace creates lasting change within you, change that quietly radiates outward, improving every interaction and relationship you have. This is the power of intentional availability. This is the transformative strength of consciously setting limits on your energy, your time, your emotional generosity. It's not just about reclaiming your day, it's about reclaiming your life. And trust me, once you begin experiencing life from a place of conscious, intentional presence, rather than endless unconscious availability, everything starts feeling profoundly different. You feel lighter, happier, clearer, more empowered. And once you feel this way, there's no turning back. If this spoke to you, let me know in the comments with one word: unavailable. That's all. No explanation needed, just so I know you're with me.